Chinese who had moved abroad are now facing the best culture shock that you can think of. Check this and let me know what you think.
So 30 some years ago, I left China for United States to pursue my master degree in chemical engineering. My first stop, University of Idaho in Moscow, Idaho. And then I moved to Spokane, Washington because I got a job there, 28 years. And then I moved to Seattle. So 30 some years ago when I first got here, I've never seen homeless people or beggars on the street. At the same time, I went back to China to visit almost every year in the early 90s. I saw a lot of homeless people. Oftentimes are disabled or children sitting on the street and begging for money or food. It was normal back then. Fast forward 20 years, 30 years later. Now when I went back to China and visit, I'm also trying to do it every year. So when I see the high rises, skyscraper, bullet train, and beautiful shopping malls almost in every city. I'm talking about the first tier, second tier, third, even third tier cities. It's all the same. Clean street and just fantastic infrastructure. I don't see homeless people anymore. And nobody's stealing shit. I remember catching myself thinking, these high-rise skyscraper building, beautiful, everything, should be built in New York City or Chicago or Seattle. That's where they belong. But then after visit, I came back to United States, and the scene, it just feels striking. Because pretty soon, you start to see homeless tent, and people are in an intersection. Homeless people are begging for something. It just, it feels like American and China switched the position. The fortune had flipped. I feel sad, because I love this country, America. I also love China, so I'm happy for China's rise. Chinese government literally lifted 500 million people out of poverty. They created the largest middle class in China. So it is real. China's rising. I'm not sure is 21st century is going to be China century, but United States is declining is also real. I feel sad, but I wanted to dig out the reason. Something I hate to say it, but I have to break the news for you. Even the New York City, the Seattle, it feels like third tier city of China. Okay, Washington D.C. is pretty nice. That's probably first tier city like capital city of Beijing. Chicago, probably second tier. It's sad I even say that, but that is the truth. I live in Seattle now. I feel like that's third tier city compared to all the Chinese cities. So stay tuned.
Now, when we think of China, what comes to mind for most of us is the futuristic cities that you're seeing, the beautiful landscape, and every beautiful thing. But the big question is, how has China been able to achieve all this? And some will say that the cost they had to pay was their soccer team because they can't win in soccer, though they are leading in so many things.
China's green industrial policy succeeded, but at what cost? China may become the world's leader in AI, but at what cost? China's Belt and Road is poised to transform the Earth, but at what cost? At the cost of Chinese soccer team. What? The World Cup is in America next year? Our national soccer team refused to join because we are busy breaking records.
Hi guys, As everybody knows, the Chinese army has never bombed innocent countries or started any unjust wars. On the contrary, a lot of people around the world have seen the news how the Chinese army step in to help during disasters, whether it's earthquakes, floods, or other emergencies. They are always there for the people. Right now, I'm in Xinjiang on the Duku Highway, the most beautiful scenic road in all of China. But what many people don't know is this road was actually built by the Chinese army. It's stunning, but behind its beauty is the story of sacrifice. The road. It's a road paved with lights, and at the same time, it's one of the most breathtakingly beautiful highways in China. They say, travel in a day and you will experience all four seasons. The weather changes every 10 miles. That's how wild it is. It's only open about 4 months a year, usually starting in June or July. While building the road, on average, one soldier died every 3 kilometers. Over 2,000 soldiers were injured and 168 of them lost their lives and are buried along the route. The road runs through the northwest of Xinjiang from Dushanzi in the north to Kuche in the south, a total of 561 kilometers. It connects northern and southern Xinjiang. Before this highway, a journey from Dushanzi to Kuche meant a 1,000 kilometers detour, all because the Tianshan Mountains stood in the way. So why did we build it? To be honest, it wasn't just for economic development. Back in those days, it was also about national defense. In the 20th century, China faced pressures on multiple borders. National security was a serious issue. Especially after the 1969 Zhenbaodao Islands incident, tensions between China and the Soviet Union got worse. The Soviets even stationed over 1 million troops along the borders with China and Mongolia. This is a real military threat. Xinjiang, being a key border region, needed to be able to hold out in case of long-term conflict. But if the Tianshan Mountains kept northern and southern Xinjiang apart, we couldn't coordinate our troops effectively. So the army had no choice. They had to find a way to cut through the mountains and connect both sides. That's how the Duku Highway project began in 1974. For 10 years, soldiers fought against nature, cliffs, avalanches, freezing temperatures, high altitudes. And finally, in September 1983, the road opened. I once met a veteran named Chen Jungui at the mountain cemetery. In the summer of 1976, his unit was working deep in the mountains when a massive snowstorm hit. He and 3 others, led by their squad leader Zheng Lingshu, had to walk 40 kilometers through the snow to get help, but they got lost in the blizzard. It was minus 30 degrees Celsius, and after 3 days with no food, they were on the edge of death. Zheng gave his last steam bomb to Chen, the youngest among them, and collapsed in the snow. His final words: "You must get the message to the unit. Save our brothers." In the end, only Chen survived. His 3 comrades never walked out of those mountains. Stories like this aren't rare. All 168 soldiers buried along the highway were between 18 and 25 years old. We owe everything to their sacrifice. Without them, there would be no Duku Highway today. After retiring from the army in 1985, Chen Jungui returned to the mountains with his wife and son. They pitched a tent next to the cemetery, and he became the voluntary guardians of the Duku Highway, and spent 24 years telling travelers about his fallen comrades. There's an old saying in China: the sacrifice is ours to make, but the blessings will be theirs to receive for generations to come. Today, as we enjoy the most beautiful highway in all of China, we will never forget the ones who came before us, those who worked in silence, those who gave everything so that we could simply drive forward. And one day, when history turns its eyes on us, When it becomes our turns to build, to give, or even to sacrifice our belief, most Chinese people will not hesitate to walk the same road our ancestors once walked. Because this is what it truly means to serve the people. Not empty talk, not some tool to manipulate the mass, but a belief rooted in our bones, carried through generations, and proven only through actions.
When I think of China personally, I see a focused nation, a nation that sets goals and works toward them until they happen. There's nothing much more exciting than leaving your country and going to foreign land. And when you go, maybe you could be going for opportunities, but when you look back, you realize that, yeah, I left my country because that was the only option I could do. But now I am even looking for a more prosperous future, even in my home country. There's nothing much more exciting than that, especially for someone who has lived in a foreign land like me. I know what it means. It's always stressful to look back and see that you have nothing to lose while you're going, while when you want to turn your back, because most of the time things don't go as you expect in foreign lands. And it's always good that as we travel and live in other countries, we it's always our wish that our countries will also progress and do well. And it's amazing to see that the people who had traveled, who had once traveled to China as their only option, are now looking back and say, okay, I'm going back to a futuristic country, which is even way more better than the one I went to. Yeah, in terms of development. So, what do you think about this?
You want to know the number one reason why it feels better to be in China? It's because I'm not constantly walking past suffering all the time. If you don't live in a city in the United States, maybe this is not obvious to you because you don't see it. But I lived in downtown Portland. I've been to LA, I've been to New York City. There's people suffering everywhere, and you can see it. A lot of people in China who are not that educated on the reality of the United States really want to go to New York City. I understand this because in the media, the United States is portrayed as the beacon of freedom or whatever. And a lot of Chinese people watch the TV show Friends. They understand that there's a gun problem in the United States too, but they don't understand why. And the real reason is because people are suffering. No sane person picks up a gun and goes and shoots people. Now, I'm not defending the actions of mass murderers here or anything, but it's important to understand the reason why people do what they do.
Yeah, I hope you've been able to learn something from this compilation. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.